Anything that has to do with technology creating opportunity for us, I find very enjoyable.
And these are my kids. So
all those Star Wars films.
All the Star Wars films.
Disney is on shaky ground, and the rumblings aren't subtle. Stock prices have hit staggering lows. Once loyal fans are voicing outright anger, and rumors of a total creative collapse loom on the horizon. If you've been sensing a storm brewing around the House of Mouse, you're not alone. From questionable business decisions to divisive changes in cherished franchises, Disney's once magical kingdom is showing cracks in its foundation. And if that's not enough, whispers of George Lucas buying back Star Wars have exploded across social media, fueling the idea that a revolution might be on the way. We're about to dive into the heart of these controversies and expose how one lawsuit, yes, Gina Carano's, could threaten everything Disney stands for. But that's only part of the story. The potential for Lucas to recapture his galactic empire is a development so big it could change the course of entertainment history. Curious? You should be. Just a few years ago, Disney looked invincible, raking in billions from mega franchises and dominating the box office. But even the mightiest empire can stumble. In the last couple of years, Disney's stock price has tumbled around 40% from its previous highs, leaving investors uneasy. Once, a $1 million investment in the company was practically guaranteed to grow. Now, it's sunk to the point where you'd have lost nearly half your initial stake. This decline isn't happening in a vacuum.
The rice has to be body temperature, and if it takes too long to serve it, it's no longer body temperature. But what was interesting to me about him was he had 3 Michelin stars, and he was still trying to learn how to get better, how to be better.
Yes.
And I showed that to executives at Disney.
Disney Plus was hailed as the future of streaming, yet subscription numbers haven't lived up to the hype. Meanwhile, the company's theatrical releases often fail to reach break-even points without a surge of foreign box office support. Financial watchers are calling it a perfect storm, a combination of creative misfires and corporate overreach. To make matters worse, public controversies have painted Disney as being out of touch with its audience. Their approach to marketing often leans into corporate messaging that many fans interpret as hollow. When your core consumers feel alienated and your shareholders start questioning your decisions, you're staring at a crisis. And that's just the beginning. The next chapters of this story involve lawsuits, leadership tensions, and the return of an unlikely hero, George Lucas himself. So let's keep going. Gina Carano wasn't just another supporting actor in the Star Wars universe. She was a fan favorite. Her portrayal of Cara Dune in The Mandalorian resonated with audiences who craved strong female characters that felt authentic, not forced. So when Disney fired her after a series of social media controversies, the backlash was intense. But Carano didn't just vanish quietly. She lawyered up, backed by none other than Elon Musk, who stepped in to support her fight for free speech and fairness. The lawsuit she filed accuses Disney of wrongful termination and discrimination, arguing that male co-stars who posted equally controversial opinions faced no comparable repercussions. The stakes for Disney are enormous.
You know, and my life could have gone bad and south at one point, multiple times. But mixed martial arts is the thing that brought me, instead of going the direction that I saw all of these people going in Las Vegas.
If Carano manages to prove bias or show that the company selectively enforces its rules, it could open the floodgates for others to challenge Disney's corporate practices. The lawsuit isn't merely about one actress fighting back. It's about whether a powerhouse like Disney can unilaterally control the narrative without accountability. Judge decisions so far have leaned in Carano's favor, with rejections of Disney's motions to dismiss the suit. That means discovery is coming, an often uncomfortable process for large corporations as they're forced to produce internal communications and decision-making records. If any documents reveal hypocrisy, collusion, or targeted discrimination, Disney's reputation could take a catastrophic hit. But that wasn't the whole story. Carano's battle is only one piece of the puzzle. Another war is being fought in the galaxy far, far away. Ever since Disney acquired Lucasfilm, fan sentiment has gone from sky-high excitement to deep-rooted frustration. The sequel trilogy, episodes 7, 8, and 9, became a symbol of missed opportunities, inconsistent storytelling, and divisive creative choices. A significant portion of fans felt betrayed when beloved characters were sidelined or retconned. Behind these decisions stands Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm. Critics argue she's shifted Star Wars away from its mythic roots, focusing instead on themes and narratives that fail to capture the original magic. The result? A fractured fan base that constantly clashes online, vowing to boycott future releases or praising them with cautious optimism at best.
Cara Dune, her full name is Cara Cynthia Dune, is an ex-rebel shock trooper who fought in the Galactic War. She's lost herself a little bit, so she's traveling from planet to planet, and then we find her on a planet, and it happens to be a planet the Mandalorian's passing through.
Lucasfilm's management has been repeatedly called into question. Spin-offs like Solo underperformed, despite carrying a legendary surname. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series, featuring Ewan McGregor, attracted a decent audience but still faced complaints about its pacing and storyline. Even The Mandalorian, which started strong, saw some fans drift away after behind-the-scenes controversies, particularly Carano's firing. In the midst of all this, a tantalizing rumor began to swirl: George Lucas might buy Star Wars back. For many diehard fans, that's the ultimate dream. A chance to restore the franchise to what made it special. Whether or not it's possible, the mere suggestion has ignited a new wave of hope and speculation across the fan community. But could Lucas truly come to the rescue of a franchise he once compared to my kids? Let's see how that might work. Imagine a scenario where George Lucas, fueled by a desire to preserve his legacy, reacquires the Star Wars rights from Disney. At first blush, it sounds far-fetched. Disney purchased Lucasfilm for over $4 billion in 2012, and the brand has only grown in financial value since then, despite the controversies. Yet rumors suggest Disney might be open to a sale if the Star Wars brand continues to underperform, hemorrhage fan loyalty, and weigh down the company's public image. For Lucas, it wouldn't just be a business move, it would be an artistic rescue mission.
These are my kids. So
All those Star Wars films.
all the Star Wars films.
They were your kids.
Yeah, well, they are right. You know, I loved them. I created them. I'm very intimately involved in them, and obviously to
And
sell
you
them
sold
off,
them.
I sold them to the white slavers that take these things and.
Okay, but I mean, it must hurt you.
Well, no,
It's your family. It's
but
the last story. It's your story.
But in
It's
the end,
you.
But I knew there's 3 more stories.
He once said, "These are my kids," referring to the stories and characters he created. He openly expressed regret about how Star Wars was handled post-sale, even referring to Disney as white slavers in a joking moment he later tried to downplay. Fans are divided. Some believe only the original creator can recapture Star Wars' true spirit, pointing to the prequel trilogy as having aged better than initial critics claimed. Others argue that Lucas might repeat old mistakes, like the overuse of CGI or questionable dialogue, and that fresh voices keep franchises alive. Still, the notion of the maker returning to his galaxy has sparked excitement for a reason. Star Wars is an incredibly personal saga to many. If the deal ever materializes, it would be a shockwave in entertainment history and might restore the balance that's been missing. And while Lucas's rumored return dominates headlines, it's not the only fiasco rocking Disney. For fans hungry for any glimmer of hope, The Acolyte was supposed to be a game changer, a mystery-driven Star Wars series unveiling the darker corners of the galaxy's history. But in the end, the show stumbled, receiving poor viewer reception and ultimately being axed. Many blamed lackluster writing, pacing so slow it tested viewer patience, and a narrative that never fully embraced its promised mystery angle. Meanwhile, outside the Star Wars realm, Disney's live-action reboot of Snow White found itself buried in controversy.
Is not designed right now to necessarily develop great leaders or to encourage more people to seek public office. It just is far more difficult. Now, I've never been in it, but from what I observe, it's far more difficult to run for office today than ever before.
Casting Rachel Zegler as Snow White initially sparked curiosity. However, her public statements about redefining the princess as more modern and empowered angered traditional fans who cherish the original story's charm. Disney's choice to replace the 7 dwarves with a diverse group of magical creatures also hit a nerve, especially among disability advocates who felt the move erased representation. Taken together, these issues reinforce the perception that Disney has lost its creative compass. Each new project seems to ignite its own set of scandals, overshadowing what should be excitement for new content. Fan confidence wavers further every time the company appears to ignore feedback or dismiss criticism as toxicity. But let's not forget that behind the glitz, there's a cold financial reality. And it's not pretty. Disney's leadership, from CEO Bob Iger down to the heads of various divisions, can't ignore the numbers. Plunging stock prices have rattled investors, and big budget productions that fail to generate expected revenue only deepen the worry. If losses continue, even a giant like Disney must contemplate drastic measures, potentially spinning off assets or rethinking entire franchises. Enter the Gina Carano lawsuit once again. Litigation is expensive, especially when a well-funded opponent like Elon Musk stands behind it. If Carano wins a substantial settlement or forces Disney to divulge embarrassing internal communications,
Yeah, we're gonna find out. My question, I really can't wait to understand this one thing is, and you could probably pull up what they said about me, the comment that they said I was denigrating people off of cultural and religious beliefs, and that it was abhorrent. I want to know so badly who okayed that. That had to have been someone at the top that had to have been okayed because that was so damaging.
the company could see further stock slippage. Public trust might erode even more, fueling calls for leadership changes. And here's another layer, streaming. When Disney Plus launched, executives banked on it becoming a major profit driver. Now, growth has plateaued or even declined in certain regions. Competing platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and HBO Max keep raising the bar, leading subscribers to weigh their monthly expenses more carefully. The days of automatically paying for 5 different streaming services might be over, leaving Disney Plus scrambling to keep its slate attractive. At the center of all this turmoil is a question: will fans stay loyal in spite of these controversies, or jump ship entirely? The answer could dictate Disney's direction for the next decade. No corporation can thrive without the goodwill of its customers, and Disney is no exception. The modern fan community speaks through social media, blogs, and YouTube channels that command millions of views. Influencers like Nerdrotic and The Critical Drinker have become prominent voices criticizing Disney's recent moves, echoing the sentiments of frustrated fans who feel unheard. Why does this matter? Because word of mouth, especially on digital platforms, can make or break a show or movie long before it hits screens. Negative buzz over a production like The Acolyte can go viral.
The one where he was in the boxing ring.
Boxing ring, and Howard Cosell, who was then a famous announcer for ABC Sports, introduced him. And I was asked at some point to get Mr. Sinatra Listerine. We're at Madison Square Garden. It's not like there's a Listerine store in Madison Square Garden. So I dutifully ran out, found a drugstore of some sort. This is before CVS. This is 45 years ago.
Dampening enthusiasm among casual viewers. Likewise, controversies over Snow White can overshadow other projects. Disney often shrugs off criticism by labeling it as hate or trolling. That strategy may have worked in the past, but with each controversy piling on, many viewers have grown tired of being dismissed. Fans want genuine engagement and acknowledgement, not corporate platitudes. Many find hope in the possibility of a leadership shakeup. If Carano's lawsuit triggers internal reforms or a leadership overhaul, fans speculate Disney might pivot back to prioritizing quality storytelling. But will that be enough? That's where the final piece of this puzzle comes into play. Every empire faces moments of reckoning, and Disney is no different. Between the intensifying Carano lawsuit, the Star Wars brand drifting away from its original core, and the rumor that George Lucas might swoop in to save the day, the stakes couldn't be higher. For Disney, a best-case scenario might involve settling the Carano suit quietly, realigning leadership priorities, and refocusing on top-quality content. A reawakened Star Wars, possibly in the hands of Lucas or a similarly visionary leader, could reignite fan excitement. When fans feel recognized, they're more than happy to invest time and money back into the franchise. The worst-case scenario? A prolonged legal battle that opens Pandora's box of corporate drama.
That would be my preference as well.
Why your preference?
Well, look, I'm going to be 72 years old tomorrow. I've put in almost 50 years. There are other things in life that I'd like to do. I also am confident that the board will be able to identify an able successor.
Revealing hypocrisy or discrimination, claims that tarnished Disney's brand for years. Combined with misguided creative choices and a continuously alienated audience, the House of Mouse could find itself in a spiral it struggles to break. If George Lucas does reclaim Star Wars, it may well become a symbol of how passion and authenticity can triumph over corporate-driven storytelling. The question remains: Will Disney's current leaders realize the path they're on before it's too late? Disney's identity crisis is laid bare. We see it in stalled projects, public disputes, and the looming sense that the company has strayed from the spirit that once made it invincible. Fans are left questioning whether Disney can course correct or whether it will keep doubling down on decisions that erode trust and goodwill. Gina Carano's lawsuit might be the spark that ignites a massive transformation, one that forces Disney to confront uncomfortable truths about how it treats talent, fans, and core principles. If that happens, we could witness a shift toward deeper authenticity and creative freedom, potentially even guided by the original Star Wars creator himself. Whether it's a triumphant return to form or a downward spiral into irrelevance rests on a razor's edge. Now the question is, will Disney take this wake-up call, or will the once mighty kingdom continue to fracture under the weight of its own controversies? Keep watching, because the fate of some of the world's most beloved stories may be decided sooner than anyone expects. The trials have only begun, and the outcome could reshape the future of entertainment. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep questioning what's really happening behind the scenes in Hollywood. A new chapter might be just around the corner, and it could change everything.